what goes wrong in advisories? Just pick a word. How do they degrade after initial excitement?
Combust. Just becomes same old, I think.
I'm just curious what you all.
I think there's a couple of answers to it. Let's start at the top, and then what I see. Yeah, I mean, this is a unique opportunity because you could integrate it immediately into the fabric of the school culture. What we've seen over the years, when it's not integrated into the fabric, it's an add-on. And most times when it's an add-on, it's not organic, and you have different fascias and people don't buy into it all the way. You don't have leadership that has a clear understanding of how you bring in people. So what we've seen is, and Todd can speak to this, but what we've seen is when people try to add advisory into their schedule, sometimes it's not given enough time or enough intellectual kind of planning and thinking. And so it starts to deteriorate really fast. So you have these lopsided kind of advisories where some teachers do it because they really believe, and so they're going to give their heart to it, and some teachers just go through the motions. Then so that's from the top. So my clear statement is just be very clear about what you want, and then provide the necessary intellectual time to think through how to do it. What happens sort of at the ground level in terms of advisory is that they could connect to the top, is that teachers don't put the time necessary into the process, or not given the time necessarily in terms of being very intentional about the advisory. Number one, and then number two, it's moving into the world of deprivatization of practice. We have to deprivatize practice where good advisories are not only recognized and seen, but they are modeled and something to inspire to. So where it goes wrong at the grassroots level is teachers once again are either not given, or they take on this position that Ben is just good at that, and they don't see the intricacies that and the time that Ben has taken in order to make that particular advisory the best, and that we want to deprivatize practice to say that we think it's pedagogical, that we believe that teachers can pick up these particular skills. There are certain characteristics that you can inspire to. So, long answer to make it short, either at the top where it's not a vision and resources are not given to it, or is at the bottom where teachers' lack of planning and insight to the characteristics of a good advisor they don't aspire to.
But one of the dangers, one of the vulnerabilities comes not from the adults, but from the students who we met weekly for a long period of time and daily for a short period. For those long houses, the students would come and say, please, just let us do our work. We've got so much to do, we've got papers due, we've got a test, can we just do that? And that puts the adult in the position of saying, no, it doesn't matter what you feel you need to do. We're going to do this because I want to do it or the schedule calls for it. Well, that's not very good pedagogy. There's a problem with that. Or you say, okay, you can do whatever you have to do. I tended to take a middle road and say, I'll tell you what, we've got 40 minutes. We're going to spend 15 minutes doing some group things because we really need to process something, and then you can work on your own. But it's a mistake to always think it's just a function of the adult not being skilled at it. You can be very skilled at it and run into the peer group. Remember, the peers care more about the peers than they do about us. And so that has to be attended to also.
But Gardner, I think implicit in that is that the advisory does not carry the same weight as a class.
Right.
Not necessarily. That's not necessarily implicit. It's the
And it's hard to
immediate
make-
benchmark in the same way that, you know, a student may say, I've got to prepare for the biology test. Doesn't mean that biology is more important than history. It means that the biology test is what's coming up.
Right.
But I think
There
what
are no
you're
advisory
saying
tests.
is that in their mind,
Yeah.
they weren't viewing it
Right.
in the same
They
level.
weren't being graded.
And because they would never think of going into their history class and going, I can't do this because I got to study for
And if you
biology.
change that,
Gotta
it would
study for my
change.
advisory.
Sometimes they would.
In the imperfect Dalton school, they would go into the history class and be doing their biology.
Make it there.
Well, one of the things about developmental designs that we pride ourselves on, and as we become, in terms of, and also what our research says, is that there's room for that. It's developmental designs for a reason. We were specific related to that word developmental designs because we want to meet the needs of kids. So it is one particular characteristic that we're learning about a developmental designs teacher is called a warm demander, that they are approachable, very caring, but they're also demanding, rigorous. And what that basically means in terms of the developmental designs advisory structure is that we encourage collaboration among the teachers and among what's happening. So if Todd and I were teaching together and we are doing some planning and we see on the schedule that these next 3 weeks are very, very high octane study time because it's a math big test is coming on, it's the state test is going on. Todd and I, we will team up and say, you know, for our advisory, our A+, what we're gonna do to meet Chris's needs of one-on-one, we're gonna have for the next 3 weeks, our A+ will be, the 2 A+ will be about a study hall. Kids will have an opportunity to study for those tests, and guess what, Todd, while they study for a test, we're gonna call one by one up, and that's when we're gonna do our check-ins. So the structure, I mean, I advocate for the structure, but we thought about intellectually about how this structure can help situations and actually meet the students and the school needs. So if you're looking at your schedule and see that these are high octane weeks for kids, your A+ could gear towards that, and what we will call at New City School, we have study halls because we want kids to be able to learn and teach them study habits. So all of a sudden, the 2 weeks prior to this, we actually taught study habits to our kids, and now we're gonna practice them in the next 3 or 4 A+ to meet their developmental needs.
That's good strategy, I like that. My point is only that you have to look at the students as well as the adults.
That's exactly it, yeah, I agree.